Welcome to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education, a podcast that focuses on what is happening in education today, connecting everyone to the movers and shakers that are breaking boundaries in the education arena.
Welcome, everyone, to LinkedUp, Breaking Boundaries in Education. We are doing a podcast session here. If you haven't checked out our podcast, check it out. We're linked from our ClassLink website, so you can join in on all of the other episodes we have. I don't know, Jerri, what is it, 100, almost 130 now?
I thought it was 137.
Oh, okay, 137. So we're gonna have to do something fun for 150. I think that might be good. But you know, yeah, I know. One of our episodes, we heard about a school district that had an AI department. So, and they mentioned his name. I said, "Oh, we know him." So we thought, let's get Greg on. That'd be great to have, because we're at our ClassLink conference right now. This is our virtual conference, and we thought this would be a really great session to have it on.
Oh, absolutely. So we have with us today Greg Bagby, who is the Coordinator of Instructional Technology at Hamilton County Department of Education in Tennessee. And that is a mouthful. But, you know, Jamie and I saw Greg a few weeks ago at FETC, and I'm like, wait, you're here? I just saw you on LinkedIn and you were just at the White House. I thought you were at the White House. Oh, you get around, Greg. You get around.
I try.
Yeah.
I used to say I don't get out much, but now I realize I get out too much. I believe it is.
You get out a lot. Well, you know, we're going to talk about you possibly having the first AI department in the country. We don't know if that's the case, but the person on our podcast sure thought it was.
Yeah.
Did your visit to the White House, I just have to ask, did it have anything to do with AI in your department, or was it something completely different?
It was AI adjacent, I guess you could say. I was I was a member of a technical working group for the National EdTech Plan.
Yeah.
And when I was at the White House, I got to do a panel when we discussed the outbreak of the plan, because it was that day where they released the plan to the public. But the plan focuses on the digital use, digital access, and digital design divide. And of course, we can't talk about the lack of access or the lack of use without talking about the preponderance of AI tools that are coming out now,
Right.
and how, just like with devices, some students are going to get left behind because they don't have that access to AI. Because, of course, some of the things are free, but then there's a lot of paid things that students can do and teachers can do. And if they don't have access to that, they're going to be further behind even more so. So we didn't speak specifically. Well, actually, we did mention AI a couple of times, but the visit wasn't for AI. It was just for the National EdTech Plan. And of course, the discussion led to AI because of, well, everything leads to AI nowadays.
That's right. In the age of AI.
Yeah. And so that kind of led you into establishing, not the White House visit, but the AI and all that's happening with it led you into actually creating a department in your school.
Yes, because as I came back actually, and we met, and I had been reaching out to several of these people that would drop an AI here or there on X, Twitter, or on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, we do AI this or AI that." So I got my team together and I said, "Hey, we need to embrace this, because this is going to be a movement that happens across the planet, and we need to be on the front end of this." So just having an idea that how much it was going to impact all the things, we decided to go ahead and stake a claim in this AI world by creating a department and making sure that we were up to speed and we had access to the right people who knew the right things. Strangely enough, the gentleman you had on your podcast, Aman, who talked about the team, I took him to the airport this morning. He was visiting the district just this week. Yes, so I dropped him off at the airport this morning before Clown, of course. But yes, so it was one of those things where I got him to come in and talk to the group, or talk to the team, so that we have a better idea of what they're doing in the AI space. And that's my plan, to continually bring folks in so that we can have a robust team. And the whole idea is making sure that our team knows the right things so that we can help teachers and students know and use the tools in the proper way. Someone recently said that AI is not going to replace the job of teachers, but AI is going to give those folks the advantage. Those folks that are working with AI, they're going to have the advantage on how to move students faster and how to do things a little bit quicker with that knowledge.
I love that you embraced it and are very strategic about what you're doing, and you're taking it under control, whereas some districts were putting their head in the sand and just saying we're not going to have it, which leads to some equity issues as well, because we all know the students that have the money or whatever it takes, they'll have it, and the others will be left.
Yes.
So. Yeah, and that just goes to speak to what you were just talking about, Greg, and that not necessarily will jobs be eliminated, but people who know how to use AI will be getting jobs above those who don't. So that equity piece is in place. And I think that the point of your AI department of getting ahead and staying ahead is so important to help your students stay ahead as well. So what are the primary functions and goals of your AI department, and who exactly is part of the team that you referenced?
So our goals, ultimately, we want to make sure that we have an understanding of how AI can be used pervasively in a school setting. So our goals are actually training teachers, training students, and training admin on embracing AI and using it to leveraging AI to the best of their abilities. Students, so that they can actually understand and grow with the information that they're being given by the teachers. Teachers, a lot of time-saving aspects and other things. And same thing with admin. We currently have a team that's filled with, all of us were teachers at one point, which helps, I think.
Me too.
Because we all understand the classroom. And we have all been entrenched in instructional technology for the last some 20 years, some 8 years, but we've all been entrenched in instructional technology. And it was a shift from my current instructional technology team to become these AI folks. So what we did was we sought out specifically like the ISTE AI cohorts that they have. We had some folks that go through it. There's the ambassadors for different AI groups, like the DFID ambassadors or the Curipod ambassadors, and they have all these little tools, AI tools that come out. They have these ambassadors or pioneers if you're using one of the other ones. And the plan was to make sure that everyone on the team has gone through one or several of those, so that we can use the critical mass of knowledge to make sure that we're bringing the best to the students and to the teachers. Because once again, we want to make sure that the teachers and the students have the tools to move them forward. One of the things that we were joking about recently is we were setting up students to have access to Copilot, and we didn't want everyone to know about Copilot just yet because of all the things it could do. And then Super Bowl Sunday, I don't know, Microsoft put out 1,000 ads about Copilot, and kids were like, I could just download it. I was like, oh, yeah, you can. But it was okay because we already had a plan for students using Copilot and jumping in that space. But it was one of those things that if you don't try to stay abreast of what's going on, you're going to get left behind. So we're training teachers. One of the biggest problems with training the teachers and training some of the staff at central office is the buy-in. Some of them are afraid of AI. Some of them don't understand it. So they say, oh, no, you're going to take all of our information and you're going to put it on. And I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing. Well, this robot's going to take over and it's going to do this and do that. No, that's not what we're doing. So we have to remind them that, oh, you know how you use GPS this morning? Yeah, that was AI. You know how you talk to your Amazon speaker? That's AI. Remember Clippy from back in the day? That was AI. So we've got to remind them that AI has been around and AI is around, and they use it almost daily without thinking about it, to help them. I guess that's our entry point into getting them to embrace a little bit. Okay, so maybe I'll look at your Chat GPT prompt and see what it does. But it helps being able to educate them on what they've been using and what they've been doing with AI so that when they get into this generative area, it can work. Yes.
Yes. Can you give us an example of how it helps teachers save time? Because I think that's an endpoint. Teachers have so much on their plates, and if it can save them some time, I would think they would be very open to that.
Well, it's funny. I saw a question pop up about teaching and learning, and one of the things that the teaching and learning executive director, or I can't think of his title, but one of the things that he was afraid of, oh no, we're not going to have AI write their curriculum. We're not going to have AI doing this. We're not going to have AI. I was like, yes. However, you can have AI take the words that you're using from the curriculum, put it in, and make it more readable for the students who can't grasp the knowledge at that level. You can move the lexile levels down for those students that need it. AI can do that for you. Um, and it's one of those things where it was, I guess, it's still a little bit of a difficult place where we're bumping our heads against some of the things in teaching and learning. But the more they realize that, oh, wait, this is saving me time when I want to write a review or create different things. Yes, including differentiating my lessons. This can do it a lot faster than I can. Not only that, I can upload a PDF and it can pull out the things that I want, and I want the kids to focus on this and send it to them. One of the tools that we adopted early was Magic School AI. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about tools or not, but in Magic School AI, they have, I don't even know how many buttons. It seems like they add more every day. And they help with writing letters of recommendation, writing emails to parents, generating a science lab, and looking at YouTube videos and breaking those things down for you. And it's just lots and lots of little things that can help encourage teachers. Well, if those teachers are using them, it can encourage them to use them to save a lot more time. And I just, my wife was a first grade teacher for a bit before she went to the dark side, and now she teaches at a college. But she used to spend hours and hours and hours creating things and making things. And yeah, all of our time was spent at school back in those days. I drop her off at school. We had one car, and I go to my school and I stay all day, stay for the basketball game, whatever game I was playing, because I was at a high school. And then I go pick her up, and she was still working. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I want teachers to save that time and have that time back so they can spend it with their families.
Yeah.
Yes, and I saw that reminded me of something Carrie Gardner wrote about MTSS interventions. I have a good friend that's a principal, and they are using AI, and she said that's her favorite space to use it in because it brings in so many ideas, because we get caught in traps where we use the same interventions over and over. And she said this really broadened their aperture of what's out there. And so it can also generate ideas for you as well as save you
Yes.
time. Yeah.
It helps. It seems like it almost helps in any fashion when you have a blank page in front of you. If it's that blank page for an essay, is that blank page for an email, is that blank page for
Right.
ways in which you can generate things? Yeah.
Over that
It
writer's
takes
block.
away that
Yeah.
blank page.
Yep. Gives that, quick, easy motivation. Like, oh, okay, wait a minute, I get where this is going. And then you can customize and make do. Someone, as you were talking about the MTSS, it also reminded me the fact that we have to be careful of data privacy and security. And that's one of the, the biggest challenges that I wanted you to talk about. I know that you're not allowed to put, if you wanted to create a special plan for students, you cannot put their name in any AI tool. So students' names cannot be entered. And I think that's really important thing to remember. But what are some of these other challenges that are out there that you're trying to tackle?
Well, of course, they want us, the broader they are afraid of cheating. The students are going to cheat. Students are going to cheat. And then I think Stanford put out a study, and it showed the amount of folks that were cheating previous to using generative AI and those that are cheating after the fact. And the numbers didn't really change. It's just the way they've been cheating.
Right.
And I see Katie dropped in a link to ditch that textbook, J. Matt Miller's AI EDU. And in his book, he has a continuum of what's cheating versus, or what's plagiarism versus what is students writing. And he talks about how, of course, if they just use the AI to generate something and it's totally AI written and they publish that or they give that to the teacher, that's not really right. And if the student does all the work by themselves, that's not AI. But through the continuum, when can AI be used and where can it be used? And I talk to principals about this, and they, of course, jump on it. No, kids can't use it. Kids can't use it. And I say, okay, what about when teachers find a lesson online and they download it and just hand it out, or things like that? Is that cheating? And they said, well, it depends. And then, of course, I get the teacher, well, I paid for it on Teacher Pay Teacher, so it's not cheating. So I now own it and I'm copying it. And I was like, well, what if they paid for their subscription to ChatGPT? It's one of those things that cheating is one of the greatest concerns. We also try to train the folks that, like you were saying, that personal identifiable information, to stay away from that, and to stay away from tools that don't claim to be COPA or FERPA compliant. You got to look at the tools. You got to see their compliance and see what they're doing to make sure they're keeping kids safe. I do not recommend turning kids on all the tools that you can find. Oh, I found this new tool. Let's turn them on this. Found this new tool. Sort of like when the pandemic hit and we had the wild west of
yeah.
tech tools. And it seems like every company was giving you a free trial, free this, free that. But we take the time to stop and look at what was actually given to the companies and what was. I'm sorry, I just had a thought of this one company that we use a company for help managing our sign-on, and then another company purchased that company, and the company that purchased them, well, okay, I'll just say the name, Kahoot. When they purchased Clever, I was thinking, oh no, we have a lot of kids' data in there. What are they going to do with my kids' data? And it's one of those things that we try to teach the teachers and the students. This is personal identifiable information. These are the things that we do not want you to put in, and these are some of the things that you need to be wary of. And then, speaking of teaching the teachers what to put in and what to be wary of, we also try to remind them that garbage in, garbage out for the most part. So AI can still be biased. If you do a quick search on a generative AI tool that, hey, what if, tell me about the description of a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. 90% of the time, it's like a 50-something white male. And that's because that's what it's been trained on. That's the thing that it has in place. So, sorry, that was a lot. And you just asked
There are a lot. Yeah. Yeah, but there are a lot of concerns. But I also think, to speak to what you were talking about earlier, it's also about changing the way we look at what we are accepting as students' work. So now, okay, let's say now as teachers, we're using AI, it saves us time. That time now goes back into the classroom where you can actually conference with students. You can build relationships with students. So now the work they're producing is work that you are seeing along the way. You can take formative assessment as a really important component to this and really guide them and talk with them and see how they're progressing in their writing, in their work. So it's not so much about the end product. It's more about the process. And that's where I think we're really going to be able to change the classroom. And a lot of people are doing this already, but I think that mindset really needs to be strong, because that's really where we're going to see. And it's an exciting shift for me. I just think it's really going to help push this along, these best practices in the classroom, so that we can build those relationships and have these really strong products that students are creating, but more focused on the process.
And that's one of the things. I was a computer teacher, surprise, and music teacher, and And it was never about the end product. Yes, we would have a concert at the end for the parents to make them happy, but it was the process, and it was how they get this right code when they were doing their flash, when they were creating their flash or their shockwave files. Did they put in the right things? Did they put in the right elements? Well, let's go look at the process and how do we want to make this look. It's always well, not always, but I would always emphasize process, even as a principal when I was working with my teachers, because the whole way that we do education, I have lots of issues with, because I may not get it until the 12th day of May, but on the 10th day of May is when I was supposed to get it, and now I fail. But but what happened between the beginning until that day? What was that process like? And you were talking about the formative assessment. Yes, we need to go back into that, and hopefully this will give the teachers more time to have access to those students so that they can see how they're creating and how they're moving and how they're working through the process.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we can build relationships while watching them do it, guiding them through it. Yeah.
Yes.
We have just a couple minutes left. So Jerri, why don't you do the last question?
Oh, okay. All right. This is the important part, I think, because I think districts are start following you and wanting to set up AI departments. So do you have some, you might not have best practices yet because you're young at this, right? But do you have some
Thank
tips?
you. You called me young.
Oh,
I haven't heard that in such a long Sorry.
that's all right. So what tips do you give to school districts that are wanting to get started? How can they get started? They're going to ask you about funding. How'd you fund it?
So what I did was I had an existing team and I just shifted. I am waiting for the okay from the school board to give me more funds. But
Sure.
that's like building brick without straw. Um, so the main impetus was the fact that other states have already started creating these policies around AI.
Yes.
And yes, we do have a policy on using technology, but policy on AI is a little bit different. I think there are 5 states that have them. Tennessee has this bill that's in Congress, that in the state house, that they're trying to get passed. And it's one of those things that I believe that they are going to see more and more, I guess, government intervention on what's going on with AI. So if you have a group of folks that are already focused around AI, I think it helps. We have one guy that's on the team. He goes through policy, and he also happens to be the same guy who does a lot of the prompt engineering sessions. He started sessions, and he's taken a deep dive into learning best practices in prompt engineering. We have one lady that actually works with our rural areas. Even though I'm in a big city, we have lots of rural areas. Our county itself is 500 square miles where we pull all of our students. And we have someone who specifically works with the rural students because they're still trying to catch up from not having access to the internet. And she works in those schools trying to break that divide before she pushes on AI. And one of the other things, like I said, try to get educated, try to get your team educated so that you can make this move in the sense of knowing that you're going to have someone doing prompt engineering. Know that you're going to have someone who's going to be working on policy. Know that you're going to have someone who's going to be working through and sifting through all the programs and things that come to you. Because I've had the pleasure of talking with, I don't know, I think of Adil Khan from Magic School, and the 2 guys from Norway with Curapod, and Sal Khan from Conmigo, and then the guy who I just dropped off at the airport. But yeah, I reach out. I am the leader of sorts. So I reach out to these folks who are starting these AI companies and doing these things with AI so that I can get a better understanding of where their product is going and where they are going. So I feed that back to the team. And then from the information I gather from them, we make choices around, okay, we need to make sure we shift here. We make sure we have access to this. And then broader than my team itself. I have some, I don't even have a name for them, but I have a group of teachers, about 20 of them. Well, they're from all over the district, rural schools, urban schools, suburban schools. And I have a Canvas course for them, and we talk to each other through Canvas, but I put in a bunch of AI information, and every time I get tools, I drop them in there, and they are my test dummies, so to speak. And they report back to us, so we'll have a greater idea, because we can play with things and do things and say, oh, this is great, but we want the teachers in the classrooms to do some of the work. And of course, all of these folks understand no personal identifiable information is going out. They understand, oh, well, just know that some of this machine learning stuff, it's going to produce biases that, because it's pulling from all these large things. So we've educated this core group of folks, of the 5,000 folks that we have in the district, teacher-wise. We've educated this core group of folks, and hopefully there'll be a critical mass by summer that we're moving more and more folks to understand AI better and using AI better. Whew, that was a lot.
Yes,
yeah.
it was. It's great.
So it sounds like you have people helping to vet tools and test them out and experiment. You have people working on prompt engineering. You have who's starting that lead investigation of different tools and talking to CEOs and finding out what they're doing. You have others who are kind of watching looking at policy. I even actually helped a school write an AI policy using AI. I asked ChatGPT.
Of course.
What would be a good, right? So that's like a great starting point, and then bring in all of the different viewpoints from others that you have. So I think it's great because you're letting teachers own this along with you and this department, which is really so important. So I think that's really fabulous. So I mean, there were actually I think we got to some of the questions. There's some really great questions in the chat, and I think we got to some of them. But how can people reach out to you? Find you on social media?
Yes.
LinkedIn?
Yes, I'm on Twitter at Greg Bagby. And I think that's what I am on, what's the other thing? Facebook and Insta.
Okay.
On LinkedIn, I had to be Gregory Bagby, like my mom calls me.
Okay. And you're in trouble.
But yes, that is correct. But on Twitter, and I do I still do a lot of education talk. As a matter of fact, that's where I met with half the AI CEOs / creators that I know. I met them all on Twitter. So yeah. I'm sorry. Some folks don't like Twitter, but that's what it is.
I don't know what else to do either.
I know what you're talking about.
Well, that's great. Maybe we can have you back at Con Live in 25 to hear where you are.
I know.
From now.
I know.
Right? Let's do that.
In Dallas. Wait, was
in Dallas.
I can't remember. It's been an hour. I don't remember.
I know, Greg, thank you so much for shedding light on how to get ahead. And because, I mean, this is a new revolution here. Back, last one we had was the internet in the 90s. So this is a very big deal. And we appreciate your guidance in how to get ahead and stay ahead.
No way. Yes.
No worries. And I was just going to say, please, 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 for anyone, don't hesitate to reach out. I don't mind. I don't mind at all.
Great.
That's
we will.
Well, thank you. We were so happy.
Thank you.
Today. Yes.
All right. Thanks again, Greg.
Y'all have a fantastic day. And everyone enjoy poems. Yeah.
Thank you for listening. And if you would like to stay linked up, be sure to follow us on Apple and Spotify and subscribe to us on YouTube.